Vinny, this whole civil war in the Republican Party over the visa issue, the H-1B visas, where do you sit with that?
Well, Piers, I mean, we've been saying this for the past, I think Patrick Bet-David said it on the PBD podcast, I want to say 6 months ago. He said that the Democrats are going to pin Elon Musk against Donald Trump. They're going to say he's his puppet, he's in charge, he's doing this. The administration hasn't even begun. We still have to wait till the 20th. He's in charge. He's calling the shots. For everybody that knows Donald Trump, including you, Piers, he is a freaking boss among bosses.
Cenk Uygur was a guest on the Piers Morgan show, Piers Morgan Uncensored, on a panel that included Vinny Oshana from the Patrick Bet-David show, right-wing host Riley Gaines, and Bartya Ungar-Sargon. I'm not sure if I pronounced that right. I hope I did. And we're going to take a look at this particular segment from Piers Morgan show where they were talking about the ongoing MAGA civil war over immigration and H-1B visas. Let's check this out together.
Okay, I understand the donor situation. We haven't seen anything else. I think everybody needs to relax. I mean, at the end of the day, Piers, think about it. Trump has said positive things about H-1B. I mean, it started in the 90s with Bush Sr. If we think about it, this is just another government program that people are taking advantage of. All these people that are coming out, well, how much is it a year, Piers? I think 85 to 100,000 H-1Bs. Elon's, an H-1B person himself. I mean, but on the flip side, if you're pro-America and you're all for America, all those jobs should be given to Americans. At the end of the day, we see Vivek, he's kind of flip-flopping. If you're America first, American workers should get the jobs first. If they want it changed, change the program. Just like when Trump said, when he was debating Hillary, and Hillary was like, what the taxes and this and that, and Trump takes advantage of it. What did he say? When you guys change the rules, I'll change the game. Okay, but until then,
but how did you feel? All right.
And again,
how did you feel though, Vinny, when Vivek Ramaswamy he ignited this whole sort of firestorm over this? He said a key part of it comes down to the C word, culture. He said, truth, our American culture's venerated mediocrity over excellence for way too long, at least since the 90s, likely longer. Doesn't start in college, starts young. A culture that celebrates the prom queen over the math Olympiad champ or the jock over the valedictorian will not produce the best engineers. Basically saying we've got to have all these people on these H-1B visas because Americans are too lazy and too mediocre. That's what he said.
I heard it, Piers, and I wasn't a huge fan of it. But it is what it is. These people, everybody expects everybody on the other side to be perfect, Piers. Trump's supposed to be perfect. Elon's supposed to be perfect. Vivek's supposed to be perfect. By the way, and we're supposed to be all these Trump loyalists. I'm not a big fan of it. I'm America first myself, and I'm not a fan of what Vivek said. Kind of throwing a little jab at Americans. There is some truth for it. I mean, Piers, if you go on right now, if you call Chase or Apple and you get customer service, where are those people from? Where are they from? Pakistan, India, the Philippines. They're from all over the world. So until the system gets changed, billionaires are going to freaking take advantage of it because that's how they become billionaires.
Riley.
I'm going to agree with Vinny about the America first aspect. I think he's right about that. But Trump isn't in office yet. He's going to be in a few days now of the time that I'm recording this video. But Trump could say right now, corporations are hiring these foreign workers with the H-1B visas. I'm going to put a stop to that because I am going to do a major program to educate Americans to do this work. They could put a program in place to where any young person or any person of any age, I suppose, who would go to college to be a programmer or work in AI or whatever these degrees and programs would be, to work in these tech industries. And either they could go to school tuition free or they could have their student loans forgiven when they're done. Trump could come out right now and say that. He could say, hey, it is what it is for right now. These corporations have to hire people from other countries because there aren't enough workers to do it. I don't know that that's really true, but he could go with that, but say, once I'm president, this is going to change. We're going to make sure that Americans are doing these jobs, and these corporations are going to hire Americans because we are going to educate Americans to do this work, and we're going to be the best in the world at that. That's all Trump would have to say. I'm going to get into this a little bit more in depth as we go along.
Your husband, I think, is on a visa. I presume he is. I've had work visas in America for many, many years. It's a hard process. It's not easy. I'm in the America when I come as an exceptional alien, which I've always taken slight offense at the description, just because it makes me sound like some sort of weird extraterrestrial.
You are exceptional, Piers.
Thank you. It's just the word alien I have a problem with, Vinny, but thank you. But that's what they call us if we come in on the O1 visa, certainly. But what do you think of this, Riley? Because it has caused a big split in the Republicans. A lot of the MAGA types like Steve Bannon and others really angry about this. They think that the support by Vivek and Elon and Trump for these visas is going to be at the expense of American jobs. And they say that flies in the face of MAGA and what it's supposed to be about.
Yeah, well, let me tell you, I call my husband an alien all the time. And I remind him every July 4th who the real winners were. Look, I've enjoyed, truthfully, I feel like it's rare to actually enjoy political discourse, but I really have, especially over the downtime, over Christmas and New Year's. I've enjoyed hearing from all perspectives, and here's where I'm at. I'm unapologetically America first. As a capitalist, I believe in the free market, and I believe in meritocracy. And so here's the thing. I think it would be naive to say that corporations are acting out of what's best for America and prioritizing meritocracy. I believe corporations are naturally doing what is best for their pockets. And so I think the bigger question is, can meritocracy exist without these sort of ulterior motives? And largely what I have been exposed to, a large part of my own personal experience and the platform that I have, and a big part of my passion, truthfully, is our failed Department of Education. I think that's what we should be asking ourselves. Why don't we look at the fact that we've had a Department of Education since the 1970s, which has not done anything to educate our children to be able to be competitive in the workplace. Instead, it's been entirely corrupted by woke progressive liberalism, teaching children that men can have babies and that boys need tampons in the bathrooms at school. And so I think they've taught that American exceptionalism is total BS, and that we should be ashamed of ourselves as a country for all of our past transgressions. And so that, to me, as someone who just recently exited these large academic prestigious institutions, that to me is the bigger question that we should get to the bottom of, and hopefully we can at least start to over the next 4 years. And I'm certainly hopeful with a new Secretary of Education, if confirmed, Linda McMahon. That's what we need to be asking ourselves. What in America can we do to better ourselves and put ourselves in a competitive position with these other countries?
Yeah, I mean, Cenk, was Vivek Ramaswamy wrong? I mean, he may have phrased it differently if he thought about it in the way the reaction poured out, but was he necessarily wrong in what he said?
Yeah, first of all, I got a note. I love this conversation. And I'm going to do something really interesting here, that I'm going to commend the right wing for having a civil war. So us on the left, we're supposed to snicker and go, oh, look at them disagreeing. But you're supposed to disagree.
Yes.
You're not supposed to be robots. And the fact that they're disagreeing with one another is actually a great sign. That means that they're thinking for themselves. So in terms of what Vivek and Elon said, Vivek is both right and wrong. So if he wants to celebrate nerds, I love it. I was an honor student. I went to good schools. I was a nerd, and I'm proud of it, right? But he didn't have to put down jocks and other Americans, et cetera. I was also a jock, right? I also played middle linebacker for a football team, and there's nothing wrong with jocks. There's nothing wrong with any Americans, right? So in terms of the H-1B visas, look, they've produced some wonderful results here in America, and I love that we're getting the best talent from all across the world and coming here. It makes us stronger, and you see that, and especially if you're a right-winger and you support Elon Musk, you can see, well, he was an H-1B guy, so it made us stronger, right? And by the way, Steve Jobs' dad was a Syrian Muslim immigrant. That immigration made us stronger. Now, having said that, I do empathize with what Vinny is saying. We're getting a lot of people who are progressives, both from the audience, but then you're seeing it from Bernie Sanders and Ro Khanna in Congress as well, going, this H-1B visa does get abused sometimes, where they just use it to hire cheaper engineers from across the world. So maybe there's a fix where we say, hey, you got to go maybe 25% above what the market is to try to hire Americans first. And then if you can't find someone, then maybe we can go to an H-1B visa. Maybe there's a fix there where you unite the left and the right's valid criticism of the H-1B visa without getting into anti-immigrant rhetoric and way of thinking.
Yeah, I mean, Batsy, I saw you nodding there. I've got to say, I've never heard Cenk sound quite so calm and reasonable. I think his journey in the last few months has been absolutely riveting to observe. But Batsy, I mean, I agree with Cenk. I do think that the conservatives in America are having a genuinely open and quite rigorous debate about this issue. What's wrong with that? It's the Democrats who seem incapable of having the same kind of reasonable debate with each other about anything, isn't it? I mean, aren't we at a place where the more reasonable party has become the Republicans here?
I wish I could be as gracious as the four of you. I am absolutely livid about this because Donald Trump was put into office by millions and millions of Americans who were Democrats 2 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 30 years ago, over one campaign promise, and it was to significantly limit immigration, both legal and illegal, because, of course, both legal and illegal immigration reduce American wages because labor is like everything else. It adheres to the ironclad law of supply and demand. The more you have of it, the cheaper it is. And we should want, whether we are progressive leftists or whether we're in the Maga movement, we should want American workers to make decent wages so that our neighbors are living the American dream, not just the elites. So in general, this is a massive betrayal of his number one campaign promise. But let me just address very briefly the H-1B argument specifically. So H-1Bs are defended on the grounds that, number one, we don't have the talent here, so we need to import it. And number two, that we're doing a sort of brain drain from the rest of the world. Let's bring in the best and the brightest. These are both nonsense, and I urge your viewers to look the stats up. I'm going to repeat a few of them, but don't take my word for it. Look it up. Right now, there are 17 million people living in this country who have a degree in STEM, and only 9 million of them are employed in STEM jobs. There are a whole bunch of them, many millions, who are employed in other jobs, and 3 million who are not employed at all in STEM jobs. So we have the supply of labor here. And if we went into the inner city and we went into Appalachia, by God, you would find brilliant Americans there. The problem is that the industry has a massive downward pressure on wages, so it is not attracting the brilliant and the brightest of homegrown Native American talent. What we're doing is importing a whole bunch of people. So what about this argument that these are the best and the brightest? Well, Piers, you already mentioned we have a visa for the best and the brightest, and you have it. The H-1B visa is being used to import an indentured slave caste who are tied to an employer. They make on average $40,000 a year less than Americans. There are 500,000 H-1B visas here, and 30% of STEM jobs are done by foreign workers, people who were born somewhere else. That is, by definition, not the best and the brightest. This is not a brain drain of the world. It is a wage drain of Americans who should be middle class, and instead their wages are being sucked upward in a funnel to billionaires like Elon Musk.
So this is the best comment I feel of this whole panel. What Bartya says here, this is what it's all about, it is Elon Musk and other elites, other billionaires like him and multi-millionaires, CEOs of large tech corporations, are able to use these people as pretty much indentured servants. They can exploit them, and these people know, coming from these other countries, that they could be sent back at any time. You can't do that with American workers. Unless they start deporting native-born citizens, which maybe they will, who knows. You can't do this with American workers. So that's what it's all about. She hit the nail on the head right there. And these, the so-called America First people like Riley Gaines, they don't really believe in America First. It's corporations first. You're going to let the corporations do whatever they want because the quote-unquote free market. If you really believed in America First, you would be on board with what Bernie Sanders has tried to do. Bernie Sanders had a bill that it didn't get passed that would have raised the cost for the H-1B visas, the cost for the corporations, and that extra cost then would have been used to pay for American workers to be trained to do this work. So that should be something that anybody who is America First or claims to be America First and wants American workers to be doing these jobs, whether you're on the right or the left, should be saying, I agree with what Bernie Sanders says. I would support a bill like that to educate Americans to do these work instead of allowing these oligarchs like Elon Musk to bring in workers to exploit. But you're not going to have Riley Gaines sign on with that. You're not going to have Vinny Oshana and Patrick Bet-David sign on with that. I don't really know exactly where Cenk stands on this. You know, he generally supports the things that Bernie Sanders has to say and proposes. But that's how you solve this problem. I mean, it would take a little while, but this is not necessarily complicated. And like I said, Donald Trump could get lots of people, even some people on the left, on his side if he came out and said, I am ending this. We're not going to have corporations exploiting foreign workers, and we're going to have these corporations hiring American workers because we, as a society, with our tax dollars, are going to pay, or even better, like Bernie's proposing, put a fee on the corporations to pay for this, or raise taxes a little bit on Elon Musk and other billionaires like him to pay for this program so that we can have American workers doing this work, and the other people, bless their hearts, they can stay in India or Pakistan or wherever else and be tech workers in their countries. But you're not going to ever hear that from Donald Trump, because Donald Trump is not the outsider. He is there to support the corporations and the billionaires like Elon Musk. Let me know what you think about all this in the comments. What do you think the solution is to this, if any? Make sure to give me a like and subscribe. This is Chris on Culture. I will see you in the next video.